So what if the most logical response to a major public health crisis was to, well, ban one of the most popular substances on Earth? That's the really provocative argument at the heart of the source we're exploring today, the scientific case for banning alcohol. In this explainer, we're going to break down its core claims, the scientific evidence it puts forward, and the pretty bold conclusion it reaches. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. The source doesn't beat around the bush at all. It establishes its position right from the start, and it's direct, it's crystal clear, and it really sets the stage for everything that follows.
And there you have it. That single sentence is pretty much the foundation for the entire argument. The source isn't calling for moderation, drink responsibly. No, it's making a logical case for the complete removal of alcohol from society. It's a huge claim, so let's take a look at the evidence they use to back it up.
The first pillar of this argument is built entirely on medical and scientific evidence. The source zooms right in on what alcohol actually does to the human body, system by system. First up is the liver. The source explains how alcohol weakens this vital organ, which, as you know, is our body's main filter for toxins. The argument is pretty simple. Every single drink puts a strain on one of our most critical defense systems. Next, we've got the brain. The source points to research showing that alcohol actually causes inflammation in the brain. And we're not just talking about a temporary bad decision here. This is about long-term damage to our body's command center, impacting everything from our memory to our ability to handle emotions. And the hits just keep on coming. The source also zeroes in on the heart, arguing that alcohol disrupts its rhythm and its function. So, in essence, the claim is that alcohol is a direct assault on the very engine that keeps us going. This quote just perfectly captures the paradox at the core of the source's argument. Why on earth do we celebrate a substance that, according to the science presented here, is actively destroying our bodies? It's a huge question, and it sets the stage perfectly for the next part of this discussion. So the argument now zooms out. After detailing all the harm to the individual, the source moves on to what it calls collective neglect, basically the widespread damage that alcohol inflicts on society as a whole. So this slide really lays out the bigger consequences of what the source is calling collective neglect. The argument is that these huge issues, disease, violence, broken families, and overwhelmed healthcare systems, these aren't just isolated incidents. They're presented as the predictable, direct results of widespread alcohol use. The source is painting a really stark picture of a substance that systematically unravels the very fabric of a healthy community. And this brings us to the central puzzle that the source really tries to tackle next. I mean, if the scientific evidence is so damning for both us as individuals and for society, why is alcohol not only legal, but, so deeply woven into all of our cultures? And that question leads us right to the core conflict presented in the source, this massive disconnect between what science says about alcohol and how society actually treats it. And this slide just lays out the contrast so starkly. On one side, you have social acceptance. Alcohol is part of our celebrations, our rituals, our traditions. But on the other side, you have the scientific reality presented by the source, that alcohol is a toxin, a poison. The core argument here is that no amount of cultural history can change the fundamental chemical nature of the substance itself. Okay, so having laid out all the evidence of harm and this deep conflict with our social norms, the source moves toward what it sees as the only logical and rational solution. The source lays out a really clear three-step chain of reasoning. First, you identify the harm. Second, you challenge the cultural illusion that's been built up to mask it. And third, you take the logical action to simply remove the harm. It's presented as a simple, direct path to their proposed solution. And this is a really crucial point. The source frames this whole thing as a public health issue, not a moral one. The argument is that banning alcohol is no different from banning any other substance that's been proven to be harmful. It's presented as a decision based on evidence and compassion, not some kind of moral crusade. And we'll end with this final, powerful choice presented by the source: well-being over intoxication, clarity over chaos, and reason over blind custom. It leaves us with a really provocative question to think about. What kind of society could we build if our biggest public health decisions were guided solely by scientific evidence?